Have you ever posted a picture of your brunch, then gotten mad when your phone shows you an ad for avocado toast? Or maybe you've watched a certain royal couple demand privacy, then immediately release a 6-part docuseries about their private life. It's confusing, right? We want to be authentic and transparent, but we also want people to stay out of our business. We'll post our entire vacation on Instagram, but God forbid our mom reads our texts. Well, what if I told you that our entire concept of a private life is basically made up? That's right. It's not some ancient human right. It's a historical invention, and a surprisingly recent one at that. And its story is a wild ride of religious rebels, nosy governments, and leaked royal doodles. Our story starts in 1521, at something called the Diet of Worms. And no, it's not a medieval weight loss plan where you only eat invertebrates. It was a massive assembly of the Holy Roman Empire's biggest players. And at the center of it all was Martin Luther, a monk with a bone to pick. A few years earlier, he'd publicly called out the Catholic Church for selling indulgences, which were basically spiritual get-out-of-jail-free cards. He even called the Pope the Antichrist. The man had no chill. So now he's standing in front of the emperor, who tells him to take it all back. Luther's response? My conscience is captive to the word of God. This was a bombshell. You see, back then, faith wasn't a personal thing. It was a group activity. Your connection to God went through the church, through priests, through sacraments. It was like a giant mandatory group chat with God, and the priest was the admin. Luther basically invented the direct message to God. He argued for a private, individual connection, just you and the big guy, no middlemen. In doing that, he didn't just reform a religion. He basically invented the idea of an inner self, a private space inside your own head that no emperor or pope could touch. He created the incognito mode for the human soul. Fast forward a couple hundred years to 18th century London. Public life is booming. Coffee houses are the new Twitter, buzzing with gossip and political debates. To be anyone, you had to be seen. It was the original pics or it didn't happen era, but with more wigs. But as public life got more public, private life got more private. The home was no longer the family office. Men started commuting to work, creating a clear line between their public job and their private home life. Houses were even redesigned. They got separate servants' quarters and handy things like bell pulls, so you could summon a servant instead of having them sleep at the foot of your bed. Which, let's be honest, is just awkward for everyone during intimate moments. The home was becoming a sanctuary, a refuge from the chaotic world. But let's be clear, this newfangled privacy was a luxury good. For the working class, your home was about as private as a bus station bathroom. Now, just because the idea of privacy was catching on didn't mean everyone was a fan. In 17th century France, if more than 4 of you gathered in private, the government assumed you were plotting a revolution. Having secrets was suspicious. But by the 1840s, things had changed thanks to an Italian revolutionary in London named Giuseppe Mazzini. Mazzini noticed his mail was being tampered with, so he started running little experiments, asking his friends to put tiny things in their letters, a single poppy seed, a strand of hair. Sure enough, they never arrived. He had uncovered a secret government surveillance program. The Home Secretary was reading his mail. When the public found out, they went ballistic. This was a huge scandal. Even Charles Dickens got in on it, sarcastically writing on his letters, "If Sir James Graham should open this, he will not trouble himself to seal it again." It was the 19th century equivalent of a savage subtweet. The Mazzini affair was a turning point. Privacy went from being shady to being sacred. Your mail, your home, your business, it was your own. And speaking of nosy people reading your private stuff, if you don't want me to know what you're watching, maybe you should hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way, our little rendezvous stays between us. It'll be our secret. The Victorians took this idea of the private home and cranked it up to 11. They came up with the cult of domesticity. The home was a sacred temple, a haven in a heartless world, pure and safe from the dirty business of public life. Women were appointed the high priestesses of this temple, expected to manage the home and stay out of the grimy world of politics. This idea was so powerful that when some of Queen Victoria's private family drawings were leaked to the press in 1847, the royals were horrified. These were just cute sketches of them with their kids, but they were private. The very idea that the public would see them in their domestic bliss was an outrage. They sued to stop the leak, proving that even the Queen wanted to control her own narrative. But not everyone was buying this home as a perfect sanctuary thing. A few decades later, Virginia Woolf famously wrote that for a woman to be creative, she needed money and a room of one's own. For Woolf, privacy wasn't about protecting the family from the world. It was about protecting an individual, especially a woman, from the demands of the family. A room of her own wasn't a cage. It was an escape hatch. Then came the 1960s, and an idea that flipped everything on its head. The personal is political. In 1969, 12 women stood up in a New York church and shared their deeply personal, illegal, and often dangerous abortion stories. They were taking what was supposed to be a private, shameful secret and turning it into a public, political weapon. Suddenly, the old boundaries between public and private were dynamited. Your personal struggles weren't just your own problem, they were evidence of systemic oppression. Your relationships, your health, your identity, it was all political. The very definition of politics expanded from just voting and laws to, as Kate Millett put it, any situation where one group has power over another. The private dramas of our lives were now front-page news, which brings us to today. We live in a strange paradox. After centuries of fighting to carve out a private space, we seem to be giving it away for free. The same Silicon Valley rebels who gave us personal computers as tools of liberation also built massive surveillance systems that would make the Victorian government blush. We carry tracking devices in our pockets, put listening devices in our homes, and then willingly broadcast our most intimate moments for likes. Think about it. In 1996, a woman named Jennifer Ringley started JennyCam, live streaming her entire life from her dorm room. People thought it was bizarre. Now, we just call it Tuesday on Instagram. Our private data is the new oil, and we are the oil field. Every click, every search, every purchase is harvested and sold. The line between public and private hasn't just been blurred, it's been erased and then redrawn as a marketing demographic. So where does that leave us? The history of privacy shows us that it's always been in flux. It's a concept we fought for, redefined, and are now maybe trading away. As AI gets smarter and surveillance becomes more common, we have to ask ourselves, what does privacy even mean anymore? And is it something we still want? The answer to that question will shape not just our online lives, but the very kind of society we become. So next time you're about to post that picture of your weird-looking dinner, just take a second to think about Martin Luther, Queen Victoria, and a revolutionary's missing poppy seeds. You're part of a long, strange history. Thanks for watching.